Testing here today. This is live on air, and hopefully today, all being well, we're going to get the opportunity to speak to a good friend of mine, John Wilson, executive coach and business consultant from ClearMindClearPath.com. We're just kind of seeing how the technology goes today. I'm here in the UK. John's over in the US. It's nearly been blown away a couple of times recently by some pretty stormy weather. Um, we'll see how that goes. If we don't get to interview John today, we're going to do that just as soon as we can. And uh, you know, John has just got some really cool stuff, some really cool um, information. He is one of the more passionate people I know about goal setting, about personal change, personal enhancement, and he's the real deal because he's been through um, a lot of stuff. I one of the reasons I'm here today is I want to make sure that I capture that from John because I want to learn about it myself. Hopefully this will be really of interest to other people. Right, so I'm just going to check now. Let's go and check email. Let's go and see how John is doing. Let's go and see if he is um, with us, able to join, able to connect. Let's just see what's happening. That's cool. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay. Um, okay, fine. Let's just say so. John is there. And what we need to do, let me just let's go and see what we've got here. Let's go and see how this is going and whether um, so we've got this here now. Invite people. Let's just see. Clear mind. Yeah, let's get John here. Okay. Invitation sent. Let's just see if we can get John joining us in just a minute. If we can, we've got John Wilson joining us, executive coach and business consultant. John, I know through some mutual friends, including Kevin Hogan. Hey, John, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you today?
Oh, fantastic, John. Brilliant. I've just been kind of muttering away to myself, just telling everyone what a cool, inspiring bloke you are, and really hoping that we were going to connect today. Fantastic,
Yes,
John.
great.
Oh, brilliant. You look really clear there. What I'm going to do in a second is, I believe if I go and highlight you, your little icon down the bottom, that will get up your picture on the screen. So I'm going to have a go at doing that
Sure.
because you're the main event today, not me. So let me go and have a go doing that, and we'll get going. My understanding is, John, actually that we can quite easily edit this once this is done. I think we can. This is being already saved to YouTube, and
Great.
depending on how that goes for us, what it'll do, I think we can just simply pick the start and end time, so we can have some fun with this today. I'm not in any particular hurry really. I want this to kind of work for you. So fantastic. Let me just see if I can switch over now, John, and just highlight you there. Brilliant. There we are. We've got you up there. So fantastic. Look, John, welcome today. Just to introduce, I'll just quickly introduce myself and then just you, so that anyone coming into this for the first time knows who we are. My name is Richard Haggerty. I'm an author, uh, performance coach and a clinical hypnotherapist, amongst other things. I'm based here in the UK. I've just published my first book, Fearless Fasting, last week, which was on my first book on Amazon, which is quite cool. And I'm here today with my good friend John Wilson, executive coach, business consultant, amongst many, many other things. And John, we've been wanting to get together for a little while now. I know to have a conversation really, because you've in the time I've known you, all the conversations that we've had, you have been someone who has motivated me, inspired me. You have some really interesting, fascinating thoughts, and I know that you have a, a story, some insights, a real passion for what it is that you do. So, John, why don't you start off and just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're currently doing, and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I'm currently writing two books at the same time. I get stuck on one, I move to the other one like you. And congratulations on your book.
Thanks, John.
And it's keeping me going, and it's my passion to help others. If I can help them find a way to improve their life and have a better life and more enjoyable, that's what I'm here for, is to help people.
Yeah.
I've faced different adversities throughout my life, and I've taken things that I've learned through facing those adversities, those stumbling blocks, and come up with things to help others. And that, as it helped me to keep going and find that motivation within myself.
Fantastic, and that always is just I think when it comes from inside yourself, it is just it just means so much more. You know, John, I've been doing some I know we've been meaning to get together quite recently. We've both had some real cool projects on the go. I was doing some coaching and some hypnotherapy workshops here at the University of Cardiff this week, and I had one lady who came to me, and she had gone for a promotion. Really, she deserved it. She'd taken a year to go through a process, this big, long, bureaucratic process, and she hadn't been successful. Other people who probably weren't as committed, as hardworking as her, hadn't got it. It was unfair, and she felt this kind of real crushing. It was like the hope, you could see it in her face, the hope. She'd felt the hope being literally crushed out of her, and I think that's one of the worst kind of things for people. I just wonder if you can say a little bit about, because we want people to have more enjoyment and passion from life, but sometimes the place they're starting from is it's pretty hard. It's a dark place.
Yes, it is. It's one of those where you have the pressure of the world on top of you. You feel all alone and beside yourself, and you question your own ideology, your own thinking of what could I have done different. You start second guessing yourself. I've been there myself through different things I've had to go through, from a severe car wreck. When I decided to take over myself, instead of listening to doctors or whoever telling me you can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never be able to do this, my question back to them was, why not? And I started asking, well, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Why can't I get that promotion, as you were saying with that lady? And that would be something I would have her asking, why can't you?
Yeah.
Why not?
Absolutely.
And it's those little obstacles and it gets us down. And then we hear that negative self-talk voice that really pushes a lot of us down. And it's finding ways to get around that negativity, even within ourselves, not alone, others telling us. And other people say it out of, they want to protect us in ways from close family members or close friends, and that they don't want us to get hurt. But at the same time, we need that encouragement from them instead of a negativity.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants anyone to go and do something that's necessarily risky that's overtly dangerous or just not wise. We don't want you to it's not wise to go and gamble all your money on a kind of roulette wheel. That's I know some people kind of do, but but a well thought out plan. I mean, I want to ask you about the car wreck in a minute, John, but I know that like a lot of people, you didn't have the perhaps, should we say, the easiest start in life, and it strikes me that's this mindset that you've got of why not is something that it's really important. It's really important for a person to understand that. But I think for us to be able to understand how somebody could be and think like John Wilson and be as proactive as you are, and be a real genuine human being with that. What is it? What is it? Tell me about maybe a couple of those, or those kind of early experiences. What kind of made you kind of get to the place where you would say to yourself, why not, and just have that determination that you've got inside?
Yes, it started about the age of 9. My mother and I have a younger sister. My mother met my stepdad, and he was, in ways, very jealous of me being around. It was always, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do that, you'll never accomplish anything. I made it all the way up through till the 9th grade, and for him, back in his day, growing up in the 50s, it was something normal for a person to quit school to go and find a job and go to work.
Mm.
Well, when I got to the 9th grade, that's what he wanted me to do, and he kept pushing and telling me, "You're not smart enough. You can't do this. You can't." I'm like, "Why not?" And my whole thing was to prove him wrong. I rebelled different, like, instead of going into alcohol or drugs or everything else that you hear a lot of stories from young people, I took it going, "Why not? Why can't I do that?" I
Yeah,
put it on myself of, why not? Why can't I? He's telling me something. How does he know what I can and cannot do? So I set
yeah,
out to prove him wrong.
yeah,
And that's where the why not really started from, and building those techniques for myself to set goals to prove him wrong. It's that rebellion to say, yes, I can. And here you just say, I can't. It's my choice, my decision.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I read something. I think it might have been on Kevin Hogan's Facebook page a few months ago, and it was it was talking about adversity, and someone had written there that they'd been made redundant, I think, a few years before, and somebody said, "Oh, you'll never get a job, or you'll never do this," and that had been the impetus for them to start and go and do their own business. They'd almost managed to make that kind of thing of, look, I'm just not going to be. It's like a kind of decision that kind of comes inside of saying, look, this is unfair. That you've got no right to say what I can or can't do. That you have no right to belittle another human being. We've all got our own
Right.
unique talents and skills, things that we're good at. We've all got something to bring, and I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do. It's almost like that kind of, you take that energy of frustration and stress, worry,
Right.
anxiety, and you're channeling it into what you do want. And I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit, because you managed to do that back then. How would you? I mean, for a lot of people, that's going to be it's going to be quite hard. How did you manage to find that inside yourself back then, John? How do you think you managed to find that inside yourself, and how do you think someone might manage to do that now? Because, you know, uh, if we could, you're right. There are so many kids, people who turn. We're watching Orange is the new black, great, one of the, it's a great Netflix show. I'm watching that with my wife, and there are examples in that. It's based on a kind of Lucy, the true story of Piper Kernan. Really, really interesting. But you see people in that. We just had an episode where a lady was a track athlete at school. She's got the scholarship. She's set records. She's about to get the scholarship. But what she wants, even though she's got all that there, she's the allure of having friends and peer group and being part of that leads her down a certain path and she ends up in prison. And it's my heart really went out, because it could be, there's just a decision that could be differently, and I just wonder what you can share with us.
And what you're saying there, and I completely agree. We all strive for that connection of a friend or something. And sometimes those choices, those decisions that we make, it's one path or the other of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I got tired of hearing that I wasn't good enough, or I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, why can't I? And I had gotten to the point where I was pushed down and pushed down so much that I'd had enough. And it was just my breaking point, I guess, to say, okay, watch this. I'm going to do it. And I graduated high school, and then I remember walking across and getting my diploma, and my mom sitting there taking pictures, and my stepdad sitting there looking at me like, well, who do you think you are? He still had
Hmm.
that domineering look down that I wasn't good enough. It
Sure.
was that still that jealousy that he had within himself. And then
Sure.
when I got my first college degree, I'm like, I done it. I
Yeah.
proved I can do it.
Yeah.
And it was finding that strength within myself
Yeah.
to really push forward.
Yeah.
And it was just that point of being pushed down so much that that was that breaking point within me and within myself to say, yes, I can.
Cool. John, you just made me think of something here. There was a story in Malcolm Gladwell's new book, David and Goliath, where he talks about he looks at some of the evidence and it's not always the case because what happens is for some people these things can be so overwhelming and so crushing that without understanding that there's another way of looking at it, without having a coach, a friend, a mentor, just sometimes it's not instinctive for people to be able to go inside and do that. But he looks at some of the people who've achieved great things and like yourself who just want to create things that for the betterment of other people and make a real contribution, that sometimes that adversity is a necessary springboard, or else it can be the fuel. If you choose it to be, it's volatile fuel. I mean, it can you can combust, but it can be the fuel that drives you on. I mean, do you think in some ways that I don't want to say that was the making of you, but do you think that you chose to use that as a sort of as an experience to build you up?
Yes, it was completely that motivation, that fire, the fuel to get me going. I didn't know it at the time, and that being 14, 15 years old, all the way up, even until now, I still use those same things.
Yeah,
But it's that fuel to keep me going.
yeah,
And now I've been pushed down, everything else. I know what that feels like, and that's
yeah.
my passion to help others. Is through my experiences, I've gotten the strengths that I can help somebody else, and by helping
Fantastic.
somebody else, that's that's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
And it was that adversities and those stumbling blocks growing up and later on that the why not come about. And it's why can't I? And then everybody
brilliant.
says I can't, why not? And
Yeah,
it was the complete motivation within myself.
yeah. Do you know when that switch happened inside you? Was there you said it had built up. Was there a very specific time that you can pinpoint where you kind of just said to yourself, sometimes I know people have that, but I just kind of wonder, was it more kind of gradual for you? Or is there something where you think back now and you think, you know what, enough is enough, and you just kind of made that decision? There was nothing, you never ever looked back.
Yes, it was still there in the ninth grade, possibly the beginning of the 10th grade,
Mhm.
studying for a test and sitting at the kitchen table. The stepdad's like, why are you doing that for? You're not smart enough to understand that. You can't do it. You need to go and quit school and go find a job. And it was like, okay, watch this. I'm going to show you by the grade I make on this.
Mhm.
And even though I didn't make 100 and completely ace the test, I still got an A on it with a 93. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, that was that extra motivation. That was that prize at the end of the race of having that grade to say, yes, I can. I just proved it, and that pushed me in to keep doing it. And
Brilliant.
once you do it one time, you get that success that one time.
Yep.
It's that much easier to do it the next time. And that's the
Yep.
same thing with the goal setting.
Yep.
Set your goals into small segments. You get that first little goal that you reach, you have that success, and you build upon it, and you build
Yep.
upon it, and you get it that much more.
Yep.
So it was in the ninth or the 10th grade with just that one test of studying for it.
Yep. Yeah, brilliant. And like you say, I know you've got some really cool videos, and I'll ask you a little bit about them later on. But having just a small success, a small reference point, it doesn't really matter how small it is in the beginning. Just it could be anything, couldn't it? And for some people, that just might be the smallest thing. But just knowing you can do that, then you can build upon it. But you've got to kind of, when you have no reference experiences of success, no obvious immediate support in the environment, then you've got to do that to build on it. John, you let's fast forward a little bit more because I know there's a really cool. I want to ask you about some of the work that you're currently doing, but I know that you mentioned mentioned a car wreck, and I know that's a good that was again quite a. It wasn't this wasn't a trivial thing. It wasn't just like a little sort of fender bend. It wasn't just like a little bump, was it? And I just wonder if you
No.
could just tell me a little bit about that story. Just when that happened. Just kind of just tell us like a little bit about that story. What happened for you? Where you were, what was going on, and then kind of what happened after.
I can remember that day like it was yesterday, really. April the 16th of 1994, I was involved in a car wreck. Had to have the medical personnel actually cut me from the wreckage.
Wow.
I was in a coma for 6.5 days. I spent a little over 3 months in the hospital. I had to really learn how to walk again because of the damage done. C5 and C6 in my neck are fused. I've had 7 back surgeries as of right now. My right hip had to have bolts and screws to hold it back together again. And it was from that wreck and that laying in the hospital bed and hearing doctors say, well, you're probably not going to walk again. You're probably not going to be able to use your right arm. I'm going, why not?
Hmm.
And it goes back to that. And it was things from earlier on of the goal setting and questioning. And that not really question authority, but in a way, yes, going, why can't I?
Yep.
And I went through everything from being in a wheelchair to using a walker. Still to this day, and that if depending on what the weather is, and that I'll use a cane if my leg and my back are bothering me. I've been listed as chronic pain since 2004.
Yep.
But it was that internal determination
Yep.
to not let it beat me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I just kept moving forward and pushing forward. And that I remember laying in the hospital bed, and the doctor's like, "We don't know if you're going to be able to move your leg." And I'm going, "Okay." My goal was to move my toes.
Yep.
Once I could move my toes and get those going, it was okay. I'm going to bend my knee, and then
Yep.
I worked from there. And within, I think it was between 6 months, maybe 9 months, and that I was up and walking, and astonished the doctors. 2 years ago now, after everybody was telling me, well, you're probably not going to walk, you're not going to do this, I rode a motorcycle 6,400 miles across the United States and back. And that just to say, I done it.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, that's just amazing, John. And I know actually that what's really cool for you is that you had this situation come up, and it sounds to me like you were able to draw on that initial adversity and the experience that you had of being able to respond to that, and to in essence say, why not? I mean, it's a great, you're challenging what other people are saying. You're challenging your own kind of like, but no one would blame anyone for being in a difficult situation like that, feeling sorry for themselves. And what we're typically told, the general hypnosis that we're brought up with, isn't it? That
Right.
we are kind of encouraged to follow authority, and there's lots of situations which that can be, kind of a positive sort of socializing thing. But when the suggestions that are given are, shall we say, limiting, particularly with regards to your health or your mental state of mind or your emotional state of mind, what you can achieve, what you can accomplish, what you deserve to accomplish, then it's a basic human right to be able to sort of say, well, hang on a minute. And you were able to. Did that kind of happen? Did that kind of happen quite naturally for you? Did that just seem the automatic thing to do? What role did the early experience have in you being able to do that, John?
Well, it took a while. Like when I was in the hospital for that 3 months period of time, I did go through some ups and downs, and I got into some very dark places of depression setting in. Okay, what am I going to do? Here I am. I was 24 years old, and they're telling me I'm never going to walk. And
Wow.
being that young and having people tell you can't do this, you can't do this. We don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to walk. You might be in a chair.
Yeah.
And I did get low, and
Yeah.
it was a shock, really.
Yeah.
And then one day, I don't know, it was just out of the blue. There was a nurse sitting there, and she's like, "Well, it's okay, just accept it."
Yeah.
Well, that's something I couldn't do. And hearing her say, "Just accept it," I was like, "No, I can't. I've
Yeah.
got to try."
Yeah.
And it's getting back into that inner fuel, as you mentioned earlier, is to find that within myself to push forward and say, I've got to at least try. I
Yeah.
can't accept and just let it beat me. So
Yeah.
I pushed forward with it and found that within myself. And that's what I try to help my clients and the people I work with and the groups that I talk to is we all have that inner power within us. if we can get past the negativity that we hear others say, and
Yeah.
even our own self-talk. I
Yeah.
mean, it's 80% of our self-talk is on a negative basis. So if we
Yeah.
can
Sure.
get past that and listen to that 20% that is a positive and focus on that positive,
Yeah.
there's so much more that can come of that 20% and
Yeah.
drown out all the negativity from ourselves and others.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I mean, and that self-talk can be, it's kind of sometimes psychologists call these things sort of ego states, or we kind of
Mm-hmm.
might call them parts in NLP, but they almost kind of seem that they're almost these states that can happen to us that probably in early days, when we were growing up, where somebody said something to us or made a comment or we were criticized quite harshly, we have a tendency to revert to those, maybe to feel guilty, to feel worried, maybe to feel that we should have. I was giving a talk this week, and the lady came up, as I mentioned, who'd failed, hadn't been successful at that time in getting her promotion, and she was really upset. And I was talking. The very last thing I'd spoken about was about how we look at failure and frame failure, because it is the most important thing. We're going to fail lots of the time
Mm-hmm.
to be able to achieve anything successful. And
Right.
and you have to kind of frame that in a way that it's not personal. It doesn't reflect you. Now, that's not the way we're often brought up. We are often
Right.
brought up that it's bad to fail, and that we're if we don't follow our parents or whatever, or do what they're told, then we're kind of, it's wrong. It's really, but we have to be able to do that. We have to go within ourselves, and if you can do that in that situation there, then I'm sure when you're speaking to your clients and you're speaking to those groups, and that comes across, John, because people can listen to that story and say, well, look, I haven't been in a car crash. At least I'm not there, kind of 24 years old, in my prime, strong American lad. I've got my whole life ahead of me, and I've got people here telling me I can't walk, and I can't, and to accept that. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. John, I mean, in terms of the sort of people that you work with at the moment, I mean, and some of the clients, tell me a little bit about how you're helping people. Where are people stuck? What are some of the problems that are people coming to you to see, and what are some of the kind of, I don't want to say universal things, but maybe some of the common things that people just kind of have inside them? Because we all kind of think that we're kind of unique in terms of our problems and stuff, but I guess there's a lot of those things are quite similar that you're dealing with. And what sort of stuff are you finding with the clients you're working with, John?
A lot of the ones here lately that I've been working with, and then one young lady, um, she sees herself having a higher position. She
Right.
sees the same people that she's worked with doing less of a job and not as much as she is, getting promotions, getting the higher paying jobs of 100,000 a year or more, and she's asking, why can't that be me? Why can't I be accomplishing that? And was
Yeah.
talking with her, and it come down to how she sees herself.
Okay.
She's, I'm not smart enough. I'm not as smart as they are.
Hmm.
Why aren't you? You went to the same schools that they did. You graduated the same as they did.
Hmm.
But it's how she's perceiving herself. It's how she sees herself in the mirror of not being adequate when she is. She's very intelligent, very smart, but it's that internal view that she has of herself of not being good enough.
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to help people. It's their self-image, their self-esteem, their self-confidence, to build that up with the positives. And that was one of the first things I had her do,
Yeah.
was to write down everything that she could think of that was positive. Her first response was, I don't know if there are any.
Hmm.
And then through talking to her and just having a normal conversation and getting her mind off of thinking about it and asking questions throughout, she started listing off 10 or 15 different things that were positive about herself.
Yeah.
And I was writing them down as we were sitting there talking. And I turned it around and I handed it to her. I says, here's the list that you just told me.
Yeah.
Everybody else sees that within her
Yeah.
and sees that she's a great worker. She's very intelligent, very outgoing, a great personality. She's not seeing it herself. And then when
Yeah.
she started reading through that list, she was shocked to see it, but at the same time, she still couldn't believe it. She couldn't
Yeah.
believe that was her. So
Yeah.
it's getting past the negative self-image that she had of herself and start the small steps
Yeah.
of building up the positives that's already there.
Yeah.
And and bring those to light,
Yeah.
uncover those so they are seen within her, and then others around her will even see her more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I've had coaching now for a long time and on and off, because the best part of the last decade,
Mm-hmm.
and and particularly with my current mentor, who you know, I mean, having someone who believes in you and who sees, I think it's common to have self-doubts and a threshold for what you think you can achieve, but having somebody who can look right past that. And who is who has that experience and track record, who believes in people, believes in you, can see what you're really like, can see what you're really capable of. I can almost see past that programming. It's massive, isn't it? Because if you don't if you've got that there, then you've got somebody who can help you grow into that, and support you to grow into, I guess, the real you, the higher you, the you who really, you see. I mean, what's your experience of that, John?
Yeah, and it's you see that in different cultures, especially with different cultures coming to the United States from other countries. It's more the culture upbringing of women are less thought of, and others is. There's one lady that was from Japan. Well, in Japan, the ladies are supposed to be quiet, submissive, and everything else. She was having a hard time asserting herself here in the States,
Yeah,
and it's that thing. It's breaking away those layers of a cultural base in some instances to bring out the real you, to bring out the person you are within, your strengths and the knowledge that you have, your skill levels, and bring that forth and put it on the table for in your career, relationships, or whatever it might be.
yeah, yeah.
It's peeling away those layers of society that puts on us, no matter where we're from, what country we're from, what state we're from. Those individual cultural layers tend to become overwhelming sometimes from society.
Yeah. Yeah, and that conditioning, that kind of conditioning, we all have it, don't we, to one degree. I mean, that's a great example. Sometimes it's very subtle, isn't it? It could be whether you're a man or woman. It could be because of your age. It could be the geographical reason you're from, the way you talk. I mean, that and you mentioned about people thinking whether they're smart or not. I mean, we know it makes no difference to what people can achieve, really.
Mm-hmm.
Their level of. I mean, I had a taxi driver drop me off the other day, and he dropped me off at my house, and he insisted. This cab driver sat there for half an hour telling me how he has to keep his brain busy, and in between fares, he takes photos, he builds up a Twitter following with these photos, and he puts inspirational messages. And he talks to people directly, and he helps them, and he says he has his dream to help people change their lives and build a business doing that. And I was really moved by that. But there's no reason. He told me that actually that he has difficulty with basic grammar and spelling. He never finished that at school. He left really early, and he said sometimes people do criticize him just because of the odd word, whatever. And I was just in awe of the brilliance that he's got to just carry on forward. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day, does it? Well, you can achieve that, and if you've got someone who's there mentoring you, coaching you, a coach, a business executive coach, someone who's there mentoring you, you can get past that and you can go to the next level, because the hardest thing is getting past that kind of inner view of yourself, isn't it?
Right. And the gentleman you're speaking of, the cab driver there, and that would be one of the things I would tell him is, yes, you might have one or two people that might say a harsh word or something, but don't let that stop you from
Yeah.
your passion, your dream. I'd be asking him, why are you a cab driver then?
Mm.
I mean, if that's his passion of taking the photos and putting the inspirational
Yeah.
quotes in with it and helping others, I'd tell him to move forward and do that, concentrate on that,
Yeah.
and let that take care of itself.
Yeah.
Now,
Fantastic.
we know we need to have an income coming in, but if that's his passion, he's dreaming about it, he's not moving towards it. He's not set that goal of that's what he wants to do. He's doing that
Yeah.
as the pastime, as his hobby almost,
Yeah.
where the cab driving is his career. And I would
Yeah.
try to help him and push him into following that dream. Take that
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's a really interesting thing that you mentioned there, John. I know some people, and probably I'm sure you do too. If you come across people who have huge talent, but and they can do something as their hobby, but they perceive doing it, taking that and transforming that into a business, that it's something harder than it is. I mean, the only thing hard about it really is, well, the first thing is having is having the right environment, skills, mentor, and group around you. But really, once you've got those in place and that is available, it's more just about keeping on going and putting in the hours that you need to do that rather than anything else. And and those people who I know, I can think of some great examples of people, the most, amazing. I know somebody who's the most fantastic person producing DVDs, graphics, videos, could do whatever they wanted with that, but the security of the regular job means that it's staying a hobby, what they love doing. And this person's done promotional videos for people who've been on television, like, big inventors and stuff, and they're just got so much talent. And just if they would look past the conditioning that says that they have to have the safety and security of a regular job, and by all means, we don't want anyone to lose that. What we're saying is keep that and develop what you want. Take it past being a pastime so that you can look to that point where there's a tipping point where you can reasonably and sensibly, carry that on. But you want to progress there, don't you, John? Because we've only got,
Yes.
I mean, you were at that point, I guess, where like being able to walk might not be on the cards. So now each day for you, probably you're kind of like, look, I've got to make the most of this. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna do whatever I can, and I'm not gonna go to bed till this is done and that's done, and I've made. I'm sure. I think I meant to. Kevin says that each day. He said, doesn't Kevin say that each day is getting more important than today is the most important day. And I really love that, because I kind of, even if I'm tired, I don't feel motivated, and we're all going to get those days. When maybe we have to draw a bit deeper inside ourselves, and we've got a lot on our plate, and we have some of the more mundane things to do. But there's this dream, there's this passion. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do some. I don't. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do that today, because you don't want to be stuck, knowing and looking back on what it is that you could have had when it's there, and it's that would just be tragic, wouldn't it?
Yes, yes. The way I look at it is from the accident and everything and surviving through that, every day is a new opportunity.
Yeah,
And as you mentioned with Kevin, today is the day. You make
yeah,
the best of right now.
yeah,
Don't look at yesterday and
yeah,
have the regrets of yesterday. Don't focus on tomorrow when it's not here yet and you have no control over. Take control of what you have right now, today, in this
yeah,
moment. Make the best of it with a focus of tomorrow, next year, 5 years, and have a plan set for down the line.
yeah.
But focus on today. Do what you can with what you have for today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, John. John, tell me a little bit about. I mean, one of the things when people have coaches and mentors, and this wasn't obvious to me, sort of probably a few years ago, but one of the real cool things is having somebody who you are accountable to or can help you
Mm-hmm.
stay accountable. I just wonder, I know this is something you're really passionate about, and I know that's something that you can use in terms of the people, any of the clients who you work with, and I know you get great results from them. Why is it so important to have a coach, a mentor, an executive coach, a consultant, just someone who can hold you accountable? Why is that just one of the core pieces of the puzzle?
I'm glad you brought that up, and it is one of the main points that I want to help others with. Is we set our goals so far in the future that it becomes overwhelming. If we don't have little steps that we can be accountable for, did we get X done today? Do we get Y done tomorrow? Is it set up for being completed? And have those little bitty subcategories of the main goal to where we can get that focused on, have those smaller successes and be accountable for it. And that helps us to achieve and reach that success. If we don't have that accountability, it's too easy to put off what we want to do today till tomorrow. Well, I'll double up tomorrow and catch and do it then.
Yeah,
Well, next week I'll work on that and I'll put it off until next week. I've got to do this today, or I want to do this, and we choose what we want to pick. And this is easier to do today than that, and we put things off. And once you start putting something off, it's that much harder to pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, of course,
Without the
yeah.
accountability, you lose focus, you lose the vision and the dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I got some things. I remember I've had like a really interesting experience recently of developing a product and doing stuff, and I thought it was going to take a couple of months to do. And my coach just said to me, "Well, look, you're going to plan it this week, you're going to do it next week, 2 days." And I think, well, how am I going to do, how am I going to do that? And you know what, John, I did it, and also I got my book on Amazon in that time. I've got to do my sales letter, which I'm going to plan today. It's going to be written tomorrow. But you have those things there. You have somebody who can see what you can do, and your steps will start off small, but then they can get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the coach will know how much to stretch you.
Yes.
And there's no way you know if you're by yourself, the tendency and it's a really great point that you make. You may have this tendency, don't we, where we could say, well, I was tired today, or maybe the game was on, if you like watching that, or this film was
Mm-hmm.
on, I just wanted to put my feet up and just have some chips or something. But if you know you've got to go back to someone, um, and tell them, like, well, I really wanted to do that, but I felt a bit tired yesterday. There's no way I'm going to go back and do that. I'm just going to think, well, look, okay, look, I can have a rest tomorrow. And I can have a rest when this is done. But get it done. And you
Mm-hmm.
go back and you've got that there, and you can, and you know that, and that's and it's kind of it's motivating. I mean, it's motivating in lots of ways, isn't it? Because it's nice to come back and say, you know what, I did it.
Right. And that's the thing is we catch ourselves wanting to put something off till tomorrow or next week or whatever. But then when we go ahead and pull up the bootstraps, tighten the belt, and say, yes, I'm moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and get it done today. Once we've completed it, we feel so much better, and we have that feeling of I did it, and that sense of accomplishment, and you got that smile on your face
Mm.
when an hour before or earlier in the day you were like, I need to put that off till tomorrow
Yeah,
or
yeah,
next week. And remember that feeling that you had of I got it done and I feel so much better now and I can breathe and I don't have to worry about it or stress over it about having to complete it tomorrow. To the next time when you have something that you want to put off, remember how you felt and move forward. And then go ahead and do it.
yeah,
And that
brilliant.
procrastination, I have a tendency of procrastinating at times, but I use that knowing that I do want to put things off
Yeah,
to tell myself, yeah, I've got to go ahead and do it. And then
yeah,
don't put it
absolutely.
off because then I've got twice as much to do tomorrow and there's not enough time in the day. So go ahead and do it.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Well, do you know, John, I came up with a set of keys to getting what you want that I talked about going beyond traditional goal setting for the recent talks at Cardiff University. And honestly, and there's one thing, and I talk about it in my book, and this really ties in with what you've just said, that I think for me now, one of the things that really helps me is saying, um, why is this so important to me? So we're talking here about focusing, aren't we, on those most important goals, those things that are most passionate that we really want to create in our life. And I kind of look and I say to myself, look, what are the consequences if I don't do this? If
Mhm.
I, it's normal if you get, to be demotivated or to, sometimes it's difficult. You start a project and then a few things pull you off course, or maybe you have something, you've had some challenges recently with the weather, and I think the
Mhm.
roof on your house, and you've had to go and do that. And then and that you had to go and get that handled. You couldn't just kind of ignore that. You had to go and get
Right.
that handled, and you've got that done. And then you've got to get back, and then we've got to get back into the swing of and get the momentum going again on the project. And for myself now, the thing I kind of do to myself, I say, well, look, okay, that I had that momentum then, but I haven't quite got it at the same. But I say to myself, well, look, if I don't do that, what's the consequence going to be tomorrow, 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line? Maybe I don't. Maybe today I feel quite tired in terms of being in front of a group of people or whatever it is, or maybe making these calls or doing these press releases. But if I don't do that, what's the ultimate consequence going to be to my finances? What
Mhm.
example am I going to set my son? And by doing that, it makes me realize that there's just no way I'm going to make myself do it. I like you said, John, you've got to pull up do the bootstraps, and just take that step because there's no other alternative. I mean, if it's just got to be done. You've just got to go
Right.
and do it. And
And
that's
that's
the
that's something that I see is people don't think of the consequences of what they're doing by putting it off, or they don't see the consequences of their actions even for today.
Yeah.
And, without that checks and balances coming in place, having that coach there to hold you accountable, and that we get complacent, and then it's like the consequences hit later on, and then we're in a panic, and the stress levels goes through the roof, and
Yeah.
anxiety fits in.
Yep.
And it's all because we made one decision to put something off, or not do it as 100% as we should have, maybe. And then that backs up, or we rush through it and we've made an error or something, and then we've got to go in and fix it.
Yep.
Those consequences later on, and that stress, I don't like stress.
No.
I avoid it.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, with those consequences, that stress level builds up, and the anxiety and the panic fits in, and then we're in a rush, and it just keeps escalating. So if we focus and concentrate on what we're doing at the moment, go ahead and get that task done and out of the way to the best of our abilities, we're setting ourselves up for later on for not only the success, but a easier transition into the next project or during life. We're not having that high level of stress and anxiety build up in us because of consequence.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're kind of taking that, aren't we? And just and going with that. John, can you still hear me?
Sure.
Oh, John, sorry. You know what happened? That it came up with a little message on my computer, just reminding me to do something, and it completely pulled me off. So now I'm pulling myself back on course there. Yeah, John, that's a really interesting point that you made there, because I mean, by not thinking through the consequences even today. I mean, I was just thinking like the future, but yeah, when you think about it, even today, just the consequences of doing that, and just a little bit of preparation, or just doing something small now, it can have huge kind of repercussions later on, because I mean, when I'm working with people now, I always get them to try and think in terms of the obstacles and the problems that are going to come up for them, both internally and sort of externally, because there are always going to be things that are going to be a bit problematic. Maybe the traffic, for instance, is going to be a problem when you're getting to an event. Well, you get organised the day before and you leave early, and you put something in place. You kind of, some of those things you can anticipate, some you can't. But there will be some that you could reasonably anticipate, and and if you build up enough of that kind of momentum inside it, then you get a little bit of success on one project, then it snowballs, doesn't it? Like you said, you go into the next project and you think, well, okay, that's great. And I'm finding now, I'm really surprised at what I can do now, or I expect myself to be able to do in a day. Is like, it's light years ahead of what I used to think I could do, and part of that is having some success and having gone through things a few times. But I just know now it is very that kind of mindset of, look, I'm going to have I know what's important. I've got to get it done, and I've got to get it done today. And yeah, and that's it. And you just go and get it done. John, I know you've got some really cool videos on goal setting, and I thought it might be quite nice, because I've got some great tips from you before, and I was just wondering if you could give us like a couple of tips on how you would, just anyone watching this, what they might want to do in terms of structuring a goal, or just they've got something in mind that they want to do. What are some of the core things they need to get handled up front? What are some of the core kind of like tips you could give them just to kind of get them started?
Sure. At first, I'd say to write it down. Whatever your goal is, if it's for today, next week, next year, or a 5-year plan, write down that main goal.
Yep.
Then come up with a timeline of when you want the end goal to be achieved, but break up that goal into small achievable sets that you can accomplish within the hour. Say that you're doing something for in the next month. What can you do today that focus on? What can you have done by the end of the week? What can you have done by the end of the following week? Break it down into small achievable goals. You will feel that success and see the progress that you're making, which makes the whole thing easier. If you focus just on the end goal, and that as you go through, you're not feeling those successes, and sometimes it gets lost or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that write a daily list.
Yeah.
Have your goals set that you have for the future, to the end of the day, tomorrow, next week, whatever the case may be for your goal. Is do a daily list of what you can accomplish
Yeah.
each day to put your mind in focus that that's what you need to accomplish for the day, instead of, well, did I get this done or did I get that done? And the biggest thing in that is, once you do achieve that goal, go out and celebrate that goal that you have achieved it. If it's just walking down to the park and taking in the sights of the park or whatever it may be, or the ocean, and that way, if you're living by the coast, celebrate that day. Take a moment to celebrate that goal and say, yes, I did it. Feel good about yourself. You did accomplish something. And when sometimes we don't take that minute or an hour or something, if it's a longer goal or a day, and really celebrate we accomplished something.
Yeah.
Give ourselves that little pat on the back, that I done it.
Yeah.
That we're told growing up and stuff, where you're not supposed to be proud.
Yeah.
Why not? It goes back to that same thing. Why not?
Sure.
Now, you've accomplished something. Feel good about it. By feeling good about it and enjoying that success, you're building yourself up for future successes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to, we're kind of creatures who kind of like, once we have that learning and we get that endorphin rush, those good feelings inside of the reward, the laughter, the joy, the sense of pride, it only needs to be for a little bit of time. And we're talking about that kind of pride in a job well done, aren't we, John? You know, that,
Yes.
that kind of pride in having self-discipline, and it's kind of like, I guess, being, you're in the services, you're on parade, and you get a good, and you are looking as well as you can, you've drilled yourself from, and you just, you're proud to just have done that, and to just turn out looking and having done the best that you can, and I think that is really, really important, because otherwise you don't get that feeling inside that you can draw upon, just like with the why not, that you can draw upon that resource, later on when you need to do that, and it's just, and it's just so important.
And that would be something I would tell people to remember, is when they are facing a challenge or an obstacle that's in their way, not only find a different path. Everything's not as straight as an arrow path, and an arrow doesn't fly straight anyway. It wobbles back and forth in flight. But remember the successes we had, to bring on those endorphin feelings, to give us that little bit of a boost of energy to say, yes, I can. I did it before. I can do it now.
Yeah.
Don't let an obstacle stop you.
Yeah.
Now, it might slow us down a little bit, but it doesn't have to stop us. We
Absolutely.
can choose a different path. We don't have to stay on the one we're going. If the one we're on isn't working out and there's obstacles, find a way of going around it. It's still our choice, our decision. We don't have to go just straight ahead like a bulldozer. We can go around the trees in the road.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I love that concept that you want to go and fail fast. You want to get out there. You want to, get the learnings, meet some of those obstacles, particularly some of the early initial ones, and just go around them, and just, and keep going. And if you've got a mentor, if you've got an executive coach, if you've got somebody who's mentoring you, who's there for you, then they can help you, because they know and they anticipate that those obstacles will come up.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form. Sometimes we can predict certain ones, and we can certainly avoid any unnecessary, should we say, maybe legal ones, or just organizational ones, or ones that we could prepare for, take sensible steps to prepare for. But even so, that maybe the computer's not going to work, or some bad weather's going to come along, or a relative's going to get ill, or there are so many things that can happen. But once it's so important for you, and you've got your reasons inside for continuing it, and you've got someone who can help you get back on track and keep you accountable, then you're there for that person, aren't you, John? You're there for the duration.
Yeah, that's one thing I do with my clients, that when I'm working with somebody or working with a group, I give them my phone number, I give them my email address. If they got a stumbling block or an obstacle that comes in, I'm there for them. That's my passion. That's my drive, is to help people. I'm not there just for that session and move forward. if they've got something we've been working on that's come up and they're needing that help with, or that extra little bit of motivation, that's where I come in and I'm available to them
Yeah,
to help
brilliant.
them, because we don't want to sit there with blinders on and be going straight ahead and spinning our wheels and going nowhere. So if they get and feel that they're getting into that position, and
Yeah,
that I'm free to help them in that, and say, okay, why don't you look to your left or your right and see if there's an opening to go around whatever's blocking your path,
yeah, for sure.
and that not be so focused on straight ahead.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do have to take a sidestep, and we've got to be okay with doing that. And I think a lot of times we're brought up to be focused straight ahead and not to look to the sides. It's
yeah,
all straightforward,
yeah,
and life isn't straightforward. And
yeah,
that there's all kinds of ups and downs and everything that we're going to face, and zigzags,
yeah.
is to learn to look to the sides for an easier path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like that. I really like that analogy. And I think it's not always obvious. When I was talking
Mm-hmm.
this week on I went through traditional goal setting, some of the smart kind of goal setting, having a specific, measurable, sort of timed goal with the people I was talking with. But I said, look, I want to talk to you about some of the other stuff here, because the problem with traditional goal setting a lot of the time is, if you don't have a mentor there who can help you see this as well, by the way, that's why one of the reasons people get stuck is that it's not a straight journey there. And what people don't understand about, and sometimes the word success or a goal is a bit confusing to people. It's more an ongoing process. We see people who are, I guess in quotes, hugely successful. They have maybe the money, the car, the house, the career, whatever, but it wasn't just like it just arrived or just materialized as is. It's through the ongoing process each day of stretching, getting things done. A lot of those people have at some point, if not most of them, maybe even not all of them, but certainly the majority have got a mentor or someone there to help them accountable, and help them push themselves and help them get through those blocks. But it's an ongoing process, isn't it, John? And of
Yeah.
meeting these obstacles of, like you say, you're stepping to the side, and you are, and you as a coach, you as a consultant, you know that, and you anticipate that, and you're helping people just navigate that and navigate to where they want to go, and you know that it is, it's kind of, it's a bit of a maze sometimes, but they can do that.
Right. And helping them to come to realization that it is okay
Yeah,
to take a step back, go to the left or go to the right. It's all right to do. Sometimes that everything is not always one step forward.
yeah,
We want it to be. Sometimes the greatest success is taking a step or two back,
yeah,
looking at the picture ahead of us, and get a clearer view to know which direction we need to focus on, where we need to put our energy into,
yeah,
and go that way. If we're
definitely.
getting up against the wall and it's right here in front of us,
Yeah,
we can't see anything.
yeah.
It's okay to take a step back to get a clear view to the door setting to the left of us or the right of us that's wide open that we can go through.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, John. And I'm thinking now, as some of the changes I'm going through in terms of myself and where I'm going, some of the things I'm doing, that I kind of definitely a while back had a kind of idea of, well, I've been doing this for ages. What I need to do is just do this kind of one particular thing and do it more, or do it better. But actually being able to take a step back and say, well, look, what else? What else is there? And what else is there? Anything else that could be richer for me, that could tap into my passions more, that I could contribute more, that might be more expansive, that could use some element of this and build upon it. And a good coach can help a person do that, because sometimes people get very kind of almost imprisoned, don't they, into just one way of thinking, one definition of success, one particular outcome, whereas there might be a variety of possible, not only kind of stepping to the side, but a variety of possible places they can do. And if they take that step back, then they focus, like you suggested with the cab driver. You could take that step back and say, well, look, this just do I want this to just be a hobby, or do I just want this particular outcome, or do I want something even better? What is,
Mm-hmm.
and to be aware that there could be something even better for them.
Right. And so many times I think, and it's how we're taught and it's how we're brought up and what we see in everyday life is everything is a set up as a means goal. I have to do this to be able to achieve this, to be able to do this,
Hmm.
to be able to accomplish where I want to be 10 years from now.
Yep.
It's always these means goals
Hmm.
to get to an end goal. Knock out all the means goals, focus on that end goal, put your passion, your energy, and your drive into that to the best of your abilities, focus on that instead of that goal being 10 years from now. Why can't it be next year or
Yep.
within the next 5 years?
Yep.
And put that energy and that drive towards that. With
Yeah.
if that's what your passion is, cut
Yeah.
out all the small little stuff to be able to achieve something. Find a way that goes straight there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even if it means maybe you don't maybe put so many hours a day into tidying your house or washing your car, important stuff, though they do need to be done. But focus on the stuff that's really going to take you there, and whether it's marketing your product, whether it's writing your two books now,
Yes.
whatever it is, and to take the time to do that, because it's just so much more satisfying, and it is possible, and also just that it is okay, isn't it, John, to modify our goals and to change them and to enhance them. I think allied to what you were just saying, that people do sometimes, we are brought up that there is, if you set something you have to do it, and if you don't do it then it's a failure and it's wrong and it's bad. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people who are hugely successful fail at least about 50% of the time. They'll modify and they'll kind of have these kind of like little things where they get getting clearer, the feedback comes in, the learnings come in, and then they modify it, and then they get very clear. There's a sort of, I think there's a point, isn't there, John, where you get kind of goosebumps, and
Yes.
and it's and there's this excitement inside you, and you're onto something, and you
Right.
think,
It
right,
builds.
I want this. I mean, let me just give you an example, and I know this is a small one. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I've written my book on how to fast with how to use fasting as one way to use weight loss. But more than that, I'm teaching people a mindset to be able to create change in their lives, and I teach them how to use self-hypnosis and all these other things. But I found it really helpful, really useful, just because it's simple, and I only need to do it 2 days a week. But I got contacted by some guys who are doing fasting at the moment, because we're in the period of Ramadan, and there's about 1 billion people around the world, who are kind of to some degree, doing fasting. And so now I've got people at the, well, some opportunities to connect with people who may be interested in that, in the different ways and different means of doing that. And it would just never would have occurred to me to do that before. And you kind of just ideas and opportunities start to come up, things that you wouldn't have conceived previously or thought of previously, because you're committed to your passion and your goal, and you're committed to helping people. You want to serve, as a coach, your role is to serve, is to support. And I don't know about you, John, but like over here in the UK, that customer service in general, and people who are willing to go the extra mile, they're not. It's not as great as as it could be. And so if you're somebody who's there and you're taking care of someone and you're helping them overcome these blocks, and you understand that process, you're helping them be accountable, and you're there for them anyway, ingredients to that success, then you're adding probably one of the most valuable services to that person, that individual, that organization possible, because um, we want people to lead lives of passion and fulfillment. I mean, we want people who are there who can bring that, because it just makes the world a better place.
Yes. That you mentioned about the customer service. It's one of the things I am in the process of working with. Actually, it was one of my clients, and that's what she's wanting to help others with. She's in the retail industry and the hotel industry on both sides, and there is a need for better training for customer service. Customer service isn't what it used to be,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm helping her to write that out as a ebook to start with,
Wow.
is developing the customer service to be there to help others. It seems, in my opinion, people have gotten more of thinking of themselves instead of thinking of others,
Yeah.
of helping somebody else.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed in talking with people, listening to different videos and stuff, people that are multimillionaires, and that they said at their darkest hours where they were flat broke and didn't have anything,
Yeah.
What got them was helping somebody else.
Yeah.
And by helping somebody else and being there for somebody else, they have been able to make their 6 and 7 figure incomes
Yeah.
because they started helping somebody else. They put their themselves to the side and focused on what I could do for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I do is I put in where can I help somebody? That's my motivation. I had people that pushed me and helped me in that through different adversities and that we've talked about is paying that forward in a way of helping others. And
Yeah.
that's become my drive, my passion, because I seen what it done for me and how it helped me. So that's what I want to put back in to society is where can I help the next person? Where can I help somebody else have that better life, have an easier life of dealing with stress or anxieties or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
and that help them achieve that promotion that they're wanting to get. And that with being the business coach and stuff, is seeing where they want to put their business to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so satisfying. I mean, I just as a coach and as someone, and I know, John, that you care deeply about other people benefiting and getting and being able to break through that. It gives your life that real level of meaning, and that you can go in at the end of it, seeing that person move forward. It's just it's just a joyous experience. It's
Yes.
kind of like having one of your children, seeing one of your children just grow and develop and achieve something, because we know it's possible. It's just that there's so few opportunities sometimes for people, or simply they're not brought up. Their conditioning, their culture, where they're brought up, people just don't. There may even have been lots of love available. It's just that they don't know that that what they can achieve, what they
Mm-hmm.
can actually do, and it doesn't have to be about necessarily being multimillionaire, but what they can create in their lives in terms of satisfaction, passion, relationships, life of meaning. A book. I'm of the opinion now. There's almost no one. There's no one I can think of, John, who couldn't produce an excellent book of something that would be really useful to other people. Because, I have friends who are experts at beading and reading and parenting and just all sorts of things that they have that they don't see themselves as that.
Yeah.
But honestly, they have so much good practical information
So
that they
much that
can
they can offer.
absolutely so much they can offer, and I think a coach really helps bring that out. John, I would love to come back and do some more with you in the very near future because I've really enjoyed speaking with you today, and I would happily go on and on. And what I think is what I kind of we've gone maybe a little bit over an hour, and there's just so much stuff. I think we've already got enough here to just. I think people are going to the people listening to us and watching this are going to get at least a bit of a flavour of what you're about. Can you let me know if somebody, for those people who want to get in contact with you, either as a guest speaker, business consultant, executive coach, if they want to get hold of you, what's the website? What's the best way to get in touch with you and stay in touch with you, John?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the today, and I really appreciate it. And that I would look forward to speaking with you again and doing another hangout. I really enjoyed it. People
Fantastic.
can go to my website. It's www.clearmindclearpath.com. They can reach me at clearmindclearpath@gmail.com, and I'd be most gracious to talk with anybody. And that I'm here to help and love speaking, love bringing my story to the audience to help people see that within themselves they can achieve, and that even though they might not be able to see it at the moment, but it is within all of us to be able to achieve what we want.
Absolutely, and I know you do. You have a very kind of active speaking schedule, John. So I know any. It's worth sort of just kind of highlighting any kind of organisations businesses who are who want someone to come along and talk to them, a coaching or motivational or whatever point of view. There are a lot of things that you're very happy to come in and address groups, aren't you?
Yes, yeah. It doesn't matter to me what the size of the company, the organization. It's if I can help somebody with the stories that I bring, the message that I bring, and the tools and techniques to help them in goal setting, and that I am most willing to talk with anybody.
Fantastic. John, we'll speak soon. Thank you ever so much for your time today. I've had a wonderful time. I'm feeling motivated and I'm going to go and write a press release now. So I'll let you know when that's done. John, thanks very much. Have a fantastic rest of the day and we'll speak soon.
All right, thank you, Richard. You have a great day.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.